Comms up. Get your comms up.
The Panther Comms podcast with Timmy VO.
Hello, Panther fans. Timmy VO here with the Panther Comms podcast, episode number 1. Wow. I don't know what to say. Yeah, actually, I do, So, this is an introduction or an introductory episode to get you Panther fans acclimated with, Panther Comms podcast and what we're about and how this is going to go down. So, if you stick around to the end of this episode, you will get all the information you need to participate in what's called Panther Fan Fridays. All right, so make sure you listen to this all the way through, get an idea of what's up so you can have the information. And we'll hop on here Friday and have a great time. Even though it's off season, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of ideas going around. We hired a bunch of new coaches. Matt Rule lost some of his homies and they went elsewhere, which was also a sign the Panther Nation was talking about. And all this other good stuff, man. But, allow me to introduce myself. And, hey, I'm sorry. I'm really excited. So, all right. So let's get to it, okay? So what is the Panther Comms podcast? What is the Panther Comms podcast? Well, the Panther Comms podcast, ladies and gentlemen, is a podcast, a unique podcast devoted to Panther fans and Panther Nation. As you probably know, obviously, I'm a huge Panther fan. I was actually my second year in the Navy when the Panthers, when the Panther organization was starting to come together and be built up in the Carolinas, and I try to get tickets to those first couple of games in Death Valley down there in Clemson, but things happen. But anyway, so yeah, this podcast is dedicated to Panther fans everywhere. I don't care where you are. I don't care what you're about. If you're about them Panthers, by God, I want you on here and so we can have a conversation, man. That's what it's all about. I don't necessarily, this podcast is not about ostracizing people, all right? If you're a Panther fan, I would like to hear your voice and I like to hear your thoughts on our team. That is just that cut and dry, folks. I don't care if you're in Germany. I don't care if you're in Sweden. I don't care if you're in California. I don't care if you're in Hawaii. I don't care if you're in the Philippines. If you're a Carolina Panther fan, this podcast is for you. Okay? And see, so let's go into, our focus obviously is Carolina Panther football. Now we'll talk about other things because I have a background in things outside of football, obviously. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But this is again dedicated to the Panther fans, right? I'll have a phone line for you guys to call in on that same number. You guys can text message questions or comments. Just be aware, if you get a little too crazy, I will block your number. I'm just saying. I have no problem doing that. This is just starting, so I'm not going to get a lot of numbers early on. So make sure you don't get on that block list early, okay? All right, so since this is about the game of football, allow me to briefly give you a detail about my background in the game of football. So, of course, I started playing football at the age of 9, as a lot of young folks do. I was Pee-wee. Well, back then it was Pee-wee, Mighty Mites, midgets, or something like that. And so then junior high school, all that stuff. I played football from day one, right? I started out on the defensive line when I was younger, because I was bigger than a lot of kids. I grew up early, and then everybody else caught up with me. So by the time I got to junior high, I was actually a running back. We didn't throw the ball like that where I was. So, you was either a running back or a linebacker or D-line, O-line, right? It was old school. But when I got to high school, I transitioned into what was called a flanker position, somewhat of a wide out slot receiver kind of a thing. Punt return, kick return was my thing. I was the third fastest in my school top 10 fastest high school students in my county. With the district meets and things like that, things of that nature for track up at Appalachian State, all that good stuff back in the early '90s. So, yeah, I've always been attached to athletics, especially through the game of football. And basketball was more of a hobby than an actual, organized sport type of thing for me. But, I have a strong background in basketball as well. So this is who I am in terms of being an athlete. Now, my passion in relation to Panthers football, because this is what this is all about. Again, I mentioned, I became a fan day one. My first jersey was a Tim Biaka-Batuka jersey. I wish I still had that bad boy, but, I'm not going to get into my old relationships. No. Egos will make you do crazy things, folks. Anyway. But yeah, I've always been a Panther fan. Obviously, as a football fan, and then we finally got a NFL organization in North Carolina. Man, that was love on top of love right there. Before that, I wasn't necessarily a team fan. I was a fan of the game. I can go down the line about the players I used to watch and emulate. Walter Payton was my number one. I want to be like Walter Payton when I was running the football type of thing. And of course, then it transitioned into, the whole Jerry Rice, Montana type situation. And, I had a big respect for Barry Sanders, obviously. Big respect for Tony Dorsett, even though I can't stand the Cowboys. I was a Tony Dorsett fan. So I was a fan of the position, not necessarily, just a team. I was a fan of positions, and of course those positions related to what I was doing in real life. So Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, Tony Dorsett. Those are the three I really looked at for inspiration in terms of being a running back. When I transitioned into defensive back, when I got into high school, I played DB a little bit of safety. I was by that time, of course, it was Deion Sanders, right? What's my man's the Willie Gault, I think that was his name. One of the guys from the Bears, and some other players, but of course, Neon Deion. That was the guy. That was my guy right there. So yeah, that was my passion in relation to the game of football. So, but Panther Comms podcast, again, is based on conversation. It's an open forum for Panther fans, sharing your gripes, your experiences, your highs, your lows, how you became a fan, when you became a fan. Because at the end of the day, folks, and I've seen this because I'm like you, right? I'm a fan of the Panther organization and the Panther podcast and the news outlets and things of that nature. There's not really a unique situation where there's a podcast that allows Panther fans to come on and voice their opinions and have it out there on the quote unquote airwaves, so to say, in the digital world. So, after hosting the 4-Man Rush for a couple of years in their podcast, it seemed to me that there needs to be another avenue, right? A podcast dedicated to conversation, not just folks talking to you guys, but having a back and forth with you folks. Now, the 4-Man Rush does a great job with that because they utilize what's called StreamYard, and you have live chat and all that good stuff. But I wanted to take it a step further. Now, that's not why I broke off from the 4-Man Rush. That was strictly a business decision, folks. If you didn't know, I'm an entrepreneur, right? I'm a full-time voiceover talent. I'm a full-time audio engineer. I run an audio entertainment business called True Masters Digital Entertainment, and with my business partner Shaka. What's up, bro? And this was an opportunity that came up that fits my schedule, right? So I don't have to sacrifice so much. I'm a married man. I'm in my mid to late 40s. So I had to make decisions, right? And the 4-Man Rush is killing it, and they brought on a new face from the old world of football, so to say. and they're killing it. And this is my avenue of Carolina Panther podcast. But I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the 4-man rush, because they really got my my interest in talking with and talking about Panther fans and Panther football as a whole. All right. So what you can expect from this podcast going forward, okay, is a presentation of educated and real football conversation. Okay. Again, I've played the game, been in meetings, had one-on-ones with, Division I athletes, because I used to be a certified personal trainer. I say used to be because my certification has expired. Life moves on, right? But I get it. I get it. I get what the game is about. And I get what's necessary to be successful as a athlete playing the game of football. Okay, so you can expect a educated, real football conversation centered around the Carolina Panthers. All right, the Carolina Panthers is still about the game of football, and to be honest with you, folks, the game of football is not complicated. It's the human being that's complicated. The game is what it is, okay? So we'll talk about X's and O's a little bit. We'll talk about personnel, obviously. We're talking about, real-time game situations. And we're going to talk about, techniques, right? We'll talk about health in relation to, fitness and nutrition when it comes to not only football athletes, but, high school athletes, because that's what I work with, and I have a strong background in working with, high school athletes. My coaching background, which I mentioned I was going to talk about earlier, my coaching background is basketball and football, right? In terms of an organized actual coaching experience, that came in the game of basketball. And if you know anything about high school basketball, a lot of times you get football players, right, when their tenure's up, so to say, when their season's up, they hop on board with the basketball team, and that was my avenue to start working with football players in the off season, getting them ready and getting them prepped for spring training, quote unquote, and spring football, things of that nature, 707s, blah 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 blah. But I have a strong background in basketball because I was assistant coach at the varsity level, and that allowed me to have a better relationship with not only football coaches, okay, because if you're working with these guys, especially they're high quality athletes, the guys that they rely on during football season, you're going to have a better understanding and a better relationship with the football coaches. All right. So not only that, but I have I developed a better relationship in terms of today's football and today's athletes in relation to the game of football and how they look at it, how they perceive it, what their goals were, and all that other good stuff. Right. So that's my background in terms of that. All right. Now I have a little collegiate football experience. Back in 1997, excuse me, I got out of the Navy in 96. I was discharged in November of 96. So that gave me just enough time to kind of figure out what I wanted to do before fall semester began in 1997. All right. So what I did, I came back to North Carolina because I was in California. I came back to North Carolina for a couple of months, figured out what I wanted to do, went back to California and got a job. But I also started training to walk on as a running back. I got on the team. It was a Southwest College in Buena Vista, California. I think it was kind of like west of Chula Vista, if you know anything about that. So I had an opportunity to walk on. I was on the team, blah 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 blah, training, and that really got me interested in becoming a better athlete I guess you could say, from a physicality standpoint, because I didn't take working out seriously when I was in high school. Now, of course, in the Navy, you have a lot of time. You're around older individuals. We had a weight room on our ship and all that other good stuff. I mean, we was playing basketball, 6 days a week if we were in port. So, so being able to walk on as a running back and working with college coaches. Because our head coach used to be a linebacker for the Arizona Cardinals. Our running backs coach came out of Texas El Paso, and our tight ends coach. I didn't work with him, but he was a part of the offensive structure when they were game planning. My man had a Super Bowl. I forget his name. Big dude. He had a Super Bowl ring from playing with the Niners. Man, he was on the Joe Montana, Jerry Rice teams. Man, there's so much knowledge you soak up from a player's standpoint and playing the game. That was groundbreaking for me. But the funny thing is, after that one season, for monetary reasons, I wasn't on scholarship. I moved back to North Carolina, and there wasn't really an avenue to play football. So I play basketball because I love the game of basketball. It's fun. I got a kick out of that. Playing defense and shooting lights out. That was my thing. I'm not a very big guy. I'm barely 5'9". So if you could play defense and you could shoot the rock, chances are you might get a little burned. So that's what I concentrated on. My conditioning, strength and conditioning, and shooting the rock, ball handling, things of that nature. I had a pretty decent vision. I could pass the rock. Isaiah Thomas and Magic Johnson were my idols when I was growing up. So that was that was something I was comfortable with, so to say. So I came back to North Carolina, enrolled in junior college on Western Piedmont, played a little intramural basketball. Then I transferred to UNC Charlotte, where I was a assistant manager. But I also got the cool thing about that. I also got to practice with the guys a little bit, and of course during after the season was over. If you know anything about Division I basketball and playing ball with those guys, man, if you're attached to the team, when and where they're going to be practicing, and when and where they're going to be hooping, because they don't hoop with everybody else. They do their own thing. Coaches make sure that happens. All right, so I had an avenue of information when it came to that. So I knew when and where they were going to play, and I got out there, and it made me a better player. But I also got a chance to talk with the coaches, listen in on what they're doing when they're coaching up their players. And if you could take that information and digest it, because I was in my mid-20s by that time, if you could take that information and digest it, you have a lot to offer when you're dealing with young people when it comes to the game of basketball or any sport for that matter. But for me, it was a game of basketball specifically. So I took those two worlds of football and basketball. Right, and I took that with me. So when I went into the education realm, I had a plethora of information to build on. And then when I got certified through the National Academy of Sports Medicine back in 2000, oh gosh, when was that? 2007, 2006, 2007. That really expanded my mind, and I was able to bring a whole nother level to young people. Well, as I mentioned, this isn't about me. This is about the Panther Comms podcast. But what I'm giving you guys is an idea on how in depth I'll be able to go, and when I bring on these players and coaches and things of that nature on the podcast, and you guys can bring out questions and things of that nature, we can really dive into some details that you might not have thought about before, and kind of put the dots in order, so you have a better understanding of what athletes go through, and maybe get an idea of what they see and how they view the game and being prepared for the game, and what they're thinking when they're going through a particular situation or scenario, again, a real time situation and an in game situation, all these other things. Because there's a lot of stuff that fans don't realize because they simply don't have the information to make that decision. So Panther Comms podcast is also going to bring that avenue to Panther Nation. Again, this is going to be extremely unique because there's not a lot of folks out there who have a podcast that do this, right, and are able to communicate it to you. So that's one thing I want you guys to really understand. That's going to be the uniqueness of Panther Comms podcast. There are levels that I'll be able to put together, compress, and deliver for you so you can think and understand the game of football in a way you never have before. And we could talk about basketball. I love talking about basketball. I mean, I still watch it. I'm not going to talk about the Hornets right now, but anyway. All right, so now that we've reached the end of this first episode, here's the cool thing. I'm going to drop some information for you guys. All right, so you can be prepared and ready to go for Panther Fan Friday. Again, it's Panther Fans Friday. Friday morning, I'm going to open up comms and then have it up for hopefully for a couple of hours. I'll hit you guys up in the morning, and if everything goes well, I'll also have a guest on here via phone or via StreamYard. And you guys can communicate, and you'll be able to hear the conversation and all the good stuff. Okay, but here's the important thing: you'll need to know this because you'll need this information to get your free swag gear. That's right, free swag gear. Okay, if you've seen any of my posts on Instagram or Facebook, you notice I'll have on my Panther Comms sweatshirt. Well, guess what? I'm throwing out 5 free ones. That's right, 5 free Panther Comms sweatshirts, the jet black with the Panther Comm logo on the chest, man. They're really nice, great material. It comes from Queensboro, and I'll also have a shop. I have a shop up. I haven't launched it yet because I want to make sure that everybody is able to get the information first, so you guys can benefit from it. But I also have a Panther Comms podcast swag store that's on standby for you guys too. But check it out. All right, so here's the phone number. If you don't have this number, you can't text. If you can't text, you're not going to get in on the free gear. If you don't get your free gear, you're screwed. All right, so check it out. It's 336-803-8188. That's 336-803-8188. Okay? That's the number that you can call in on Fridays, on Panther Fan Fridays. You can also text on that number on Panther Fan Fridays. If you're calling and texting before then or after then, I'm going to ignore you. It's just that simple because you're not paying attention. All right, so it's 336-803-8188. And, of course, by the area code, you can tell I'm in the triad. So shout out to Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point, all you folks. What's up? Again, that's 336-803-8188. That's the number you'll need to call in on Fridays, text on Fridays with your questions, concerns, comments, all the other good stuff. And when you call in, folks, you're going to be on the podcast, right? Because when you call in, that's that same day, Panther Fan Friday is when I'm going to be streaming live. All right, I'm going to be on StreamYard. People can see it on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter. Okay, so if you want to get your voice heard, man, you want to be famous. If you want to be famous, you hit that number up, or you can join us live on Fridays. Okay, so that's, again, the number is 336-803-8188. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do, so you get notifications. You might see yourself on there. And if you're not following me on Twitter, please do. It's at Timmy VO. And if you're not following me on Facebook, it's also under Timmy VO. Okay? The VO stands for voiceover, if you didn't know. So again, Panther Nation, thank you so much for listening to this podcast, man. I really appreciate you guys. I'm glad to be back. I really am. I had a great time with Kevin and the guys, man, and talking about the game of football and and all that good stuff, man. And Jesus Christ, it'll be a disservice if I did not come back on the microphone and hit you guys up with some fresh shit, man. For real, I really missed conversating with you guys, and there's some young Panther fans out there, up and coming Panther fans that are going to have a completely different perspective than what we did when the Panthers first came out, and what better way to have them join in on the fun than Panther Comms podcast, because it's going to be a fun ride, Jack. So again, hey, be on the lookout on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. I don't cross post the same stuff, and also follow me on TikTok, because that's going to be a unique situation as well. But I'll keep you guys up to date with everything, and as long as you keep your eyes and ears open, man, and keep your comms up, you're going to be just fine. You're going to have all the perks that comes with the Panther Comms podcast. Okay? So, hey, you guys enjoy your Monday, and, be safe out there. Wear your mask and all other good stuff. And then, as always, keep pounding.
Comms up.
Y'all have a good one. Peace.